So you released a video recently saying you stopped listening to music. Is that right, or was that just a cool title that Neil came up with?
Oh, it's a combination. I have limited my intake of music. Stopped, certainly it hits better, but I still listen to music on occasion. And the main reason for which is that music haunts me in my sleep, and it wakes me up in the middle of the night and says, hey, you remember what you listened to earlier today? And I'm like, I do. I wish I could forget. And it's like, but also, how about I remind you? And I'm like, wait a second, mind. What, that you took a vacation? And it's like, no, I'm always here, sweetheart. Yeah. So, yeah.
Yeah. Well, I was with a mate recently, and we were doing these long drives together. We just got back from Namibia. We're sitting on the back of this Land Rover, and I'm like, what's a song? And it occurred to me like how impoverished our we weren't given folk songs that we all know, that we can all sing, you know?
Yeah.
And we just have these I bless the rains down in Africa. It's the best we could come up with, which is pretty good.
Which is not bad.
But it was just sad, you know, that we didn't have a communal heritage of songs. Do you know?
Yeah. I mean, I feel like, okay, I don't know if this is going to be accurate. I hope that it's accurate. In formation, we sang a lot of like Americana old time, Irish, British, even Australian folk music. And it'd be the type of stuff where like some of it was oldie timey, and then some of it was like kind of nouveau oldie timey, kind of folk revival, mid 20th century stuff, like the Clancy Brothers, for instance, or the Dubliners, or things like that. And that was really cool because it was a thing that we did once a week where we got together after the evening meal and just sang. And there were a handful of guys in that group that were super talented. They were just good musicians, so they could just pluck something out, and then they'd teach us all, and then we'd sing it. But it created a kind of stock of common melodies.
That's nice.
And common things. So that way, when occasion arose, which occasion does arise when you're like hiking in the mountains and everyone's cold and tired, and you're like, how about we lift the spirits, lads?
Yeah.
That we could sing those things. And a lot of those guys are in the singing group or the musical group, the Hillbilly Thomists, you know, so they're the real deal. You know, they've got skills with a Z, as the youth said 30 years ago.
Okay.
Well,
I think like folk songs are like fairy tales. Like they're written by communities of people.
Yeah.
And
they're also usually about like lost love, communal suffering, and adventure.
Yeah.
Which I think are the things that we all think about, but are usually too embarrassed to admit to the fact that we're daydreaming about it. Like you're in math class, like she's explaining the second derivative, and you're like, but what if like the parking brake on that car like failed and it started coming through this window? Like, who would I save first? How would I push the desks out of the way? Would I leap over it? Would I fall under it? And then she's like, and what's the answer? And you're like, hard to say. But like, I feel like folk songs are a way, and we give expression to just those things. Some of them are like based in facts, like we fought the Battle of the Boyne and we lost, let's lament. But other ones are like what are we gonna do the next time?
Yeah.
And that's where they get wild and fun. So I like that. It's just
what are some examples of those different genres of sentiment, I guess, in songs?
Yeah, so for like Irish music, there are a couple ones that we used to like a lot called, so like Dicey Riley, for instance. It's just like a kind of angry, swashbuckling song that gets, like, it just devolves progressively. Or I'm sure you've heard the song where it talks about like a guy who courts a woman and the woman's father is a madman, and then like the climactic scene is like him grabbing him by the hair and ramming his head in a pail of water as he runs off with his lady. It's just like, dude, I want more lyrics about ramming an angry dad's head in a pail of water as I wander off into the sunset with his. So it's those types of things. Yeah Unhinged, but in a very delightful way.
Yep. Good. But actually, I watched that video. I tend to be very impulsive. I don't know if you know that about me, but so my phone, I've blocked the App Store. You know, it's a very limited phone here, but I deleted Spotify immediately after I watched your video, and then I traveled 30 hours to Africa. And I was like, damn you, Father Gregory. No, yeah.
But then you read the collected works, you know, of like St. Teresa of Avila, and you're like, I'm very grateful for this.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm edified, yeah.
Well, and then I actually texted my wife after watching your thing, and I said, we're never watching another episode of 24. Because, you ever watch 24?
No.
TV peaked with 24. It's the greatest...
I did watch an episode of 24. I've watched probably 3 episodes. Yeah.
Nah, it's not possible to watch one episode of 24. That's how I know you're lying.
Yes.
It's not humanly possible.
So, you know how sometimes you associate certain TV shows with certain people, and also with like the peculiarities of their personality. So when somebody says like, I'm into this new show, inside you're like, I'm never going to watch this because you watch this.
Okay.
Right? So it's not really a judgment on them, but it is a judgment on them. So at one point I was with this person like, you have to watch it. And I was like, cool, cool, cool. And then I left and I was like, never again. So I was like passing it through the filter of associating this person with TV addiction and then distancing myself from that phenomenon, which is a very judgmental admission to make, but here I am.
Yeah, imperfect, but God's not done with me yet. Yeah, I think my wife and I watched all like 6 or 7 seasons back in the day, and then we were just bored and we started watching the first season again, and we're like, oh my gosh, I know everything that's happening, but I don't care. But by the end of it, you're like, I just spent like it's 24, but it's like 40-minute episodes, or whatever that is, 18 or 19 hours, like looking at a screen, you know?
Yeah.
And you were just saying in your video how like these television shows make these these demands upon you.
Yeah.
And you're not free, you know?
The thing that, so like with television shows, the thing that kind of throws me for a loop is a lot of them are subject to infinite revision because they want to make lots of money. So they're like, we could kill this character, but we could also bring this character back. It just depends on what the people want, so that way we can sell more of it. Yeah. And so like the stories themselves I find are kind of, they're false because they're just not real stories. They're just commercial pursuits, like kind of in story-like vesture. So that I find that dissatisfying because it's like, I'm going to take you through a thrilling experience, but there's not going to be real finality. Like it's not tending anywhere, and it doesn't reflect anything. It's just, that frustrates me because I feel like it's just the point is to lay hold of you and then just drag you through however many seasons they're going to mass produce.
How is this not different? Pints of Iguanas.
Well, I feel like the finality of this is actually human insofar as like you're trying to have a relationship with another human being to share things of mutual interest. And then the idea is that conversation is broken open to other people who can partake of it. Because I think that like we want to have conversations about meaningful things, but we're all at like different points insofar as like some of us have dialogue partners, some of us don't. You know, like some of us live in rich communal settings, some of us don't. So we all want to have something of that. And I feel like this is a place in which we can host and then have those conversations. The point of which is to like make a human life better, which is to say to flourish. Whereas with those particular things, it's just to entertain. It's like the storyline kind of reaches into your interior life and then stirs up your emotions, right? It kind of tinkers with your desires. It manipulates whatever aspirations you may or may not have admitted to in the public. And then it just tries to drag you along through a season without burning off all of your goodwill so that when the next season comes out, you have at least forgotten about your disappointments or are sufficiently recollected in your excitements that you're just like, yeah, I'll watch another one. Because then advertising revenue goes to that company and they continue to make more of it. So, yeah. That's what worries me. Now, do I think that those directors have that particular end in mind? Are they just, kind of dollar hawks? Nah, I mean, like some of them probably have some artistic integrity. But
this tends to be why the first season is usually, not always, but better than the subsequent seasons. Like Stranger Things, the first season of that was outstanding. It took everyone by storm, right?
Yeah.
I haven't watched the latest season. I'm not going to, but it's same thing with the Marvel. Like the first time, not Justice League. I'm so impressed with myself that I don't know it. Yeah.
Well done.
I remember the first Avengers came out. I was in San Diego and I watched it and I laughed so much. I could not believe how funny it was. But then the 800th one comes out. You're like, I am so tired of this junk,
Yeah, I don't know what I think about Marvel movies because sometimes, my concern about Marvel movies is, again, the fact that people just like, they die, but then they come back. Things are subject to infinite revision.
Yeah.
I feel like when you lose some of the limitation of human life, when you can always like go beyond it with science fiction, or you can go beyond it with whatever, like irresponsible fairy story, then it loses a sufficient reality to actually connect with me, to appeal to me.
What's the last TV season you watched that you were like, this was quite good?
I really like Stranger Things.
Yeah.
Hey, thanks so much for watching. Please be sure to like and subscribe and leave a comment below letting us know what you thought about the video.